All right, day one of tiling. This is going to be for the back exterior wall of the master bathroom. Obviously, those have been pushed over so I could get to my smoothie makings in the morning time. But I'm in the kitchen, haven't remodeled this obviously, but I'm on a flat surface doing a dry fit. Again, these two tiles up here need to be scooted over. That's the window. This is not the correct spacing. I kind of pushed it a little bit, but this is the correct spacing right here, 1/8 of an inch spacers. This is the wavy tile, premium ceramic. I got this at Home Depot. There's the exact model number. It's the Sapheed Riptide in satin. And after looking at this for quite a while, to be honest with you, I've determined that I didn't want to do any specialty cuts once my skills get a little bit better, maybe for the next bathroom. But I did want a full tile on the top, but it's not that big of a concern because I'm using glossy white grout that Home Depot sells as well. And again, we'll be showing you that process as well. But after looking at pictures, when people use that particular grout, not the gray or black, it's really hard to see the grout lines, especially with this tile and the wavy texture to it. So I'm not overly concerned with cut down strips for the top and not a full tile on the top. What I'd rather do is on the bottom of my window where your eyes focus on, right behind the freestanding tub, I wanted those to be full tiles, and this is the middle. I'll have small cuts over here, and obviously, again, these two need to be pushed over a little bit. These two will be cut on the left edge, and I do have a couple extra boxes of tiles, because what we need in this particular case is no matter which direction you move these wavy tiles, they butt up. But if you do cut, which I'm gonna have all my cuts up against the wall, my factory cuts are going to be butted up right here. Factory cuts are going to be against the Schluter edge because I don't want to do bullnose or miter cuts. So in this regards, I'm going to take a fresh tile. For the edges here, I'm going to use the factory edge, which butts up against this right here. And then I'm going to make my cut right here. And then because I'll have some leftover, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this side, make my cut there for this side, and put that side over here on this side. So the waves, let me show you here. So the waves and the pattern goes right into each other, and the tiles are just dusty by the factory. But here is 1/8 inch grout line. Beautiful. That's going to look really sharp. And then if you want, I got this from the tile coach, Isaac's video. You can use a story pole if you want as well. That's perfectly cut to the height of my ceiling. And then you mark out your grout line so you're kind of working up. But what I'm going to do, and it's a great tip from his video, is I'm going to be starting with this set full row here, and we'll scribe in the bottom later on, but I don't want to be fighting the weight of the tiles coming down. So I'm going to be putting on, we'll show you that, I'm going to be putting on a piece of wood with drywall nails nailed into the wall, and then I can stack 4 tiles on top of that wood so I'm not fighting the weight all the way to the ground. I'm going to be doing the back wall first so you can't see the grout line as I enter into the bathroom. And then after the back wall, we'll do the left or right side first, doesn't really matter. Now, if you didn't want a cut down tile and you wanted that full tile, what I would have to do is I would have to move everything up, and then these tiles here around the windowsill, I would actually have to notch out, and then they would go right up against the window. But again, because of the wavy texture and the white grout, can't really see it. But if you were going for a gray or black grout, then you would see the small tiles on top. Folks, we're going to be right back to the video, but I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Manscaped. Manscaped is most known for their Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer, but they also make excellent other products. They make the ear and nose trimmer Weed Whacker 2.0 now, and also their Beard Hedger kit. I use the Beard Hedger all the time, just actually used it yesterday morning for a quick trim and cleanup before church. Does an absolute fantastic job, and in this kit you get all sorts of items for your grooming and pleasure, not to mention a sweet brush if you're running out of the house. Your beard's a little bit curly-Q, take that in the car with you, listen to a little podcast on your way to work while you're combing your beard out. Now, top link in the description box below of this video is going to be my direct link where you can get 20% off and free shipping on whatever products you purchase on Manscaped's website. Again, 20% off and free shipping using that direct link, which is the top link in the description box below of this video. Manscaped also offers really high-end boxers with some cool prints on them, and I'm also using their deodorant as as well. So it's a one-stop shop. They're not just a grooming tool product anymore. They have shampoos, body washes, lip balms, colognes, shavers, you name it. Again, whatever you want to get your hands on and you want to get 20% off and free shipping. In the description box right below the video, top link will be my direct link, which that 20% will automatically be applied when clicking that link and shopping on their website. But grab your 20% off and free shipping in the description box below. Thank you to Manscaped for once again for sponsoring this video. Now what I have to do next is I'm going to get in here with a level just to double check. Last time I checked, I did have a low spot right in this top corner here. I believe with my thin set underneath my waterproof membrane. And if you are wondering, I did use Laticrete Hydroban for the first coat, but I ran out and I didn't want to wait for Amazon to ship it, and there's no Floor & Decor around. I'd have to go all the way up to Denver. So it's not as good of a product, but just for a second coat, I did Mappy Aqua Defense, and that's why you see a little bit of a blue color with the drawing on top of the olive green. I didn't see anything in the directions stating don't use another product on top of it, but if I were you, go with Hydroban. Again, it's just a better product overall from what the professionals say, but to each their own. It's quite a bit more expensive. Anywho, so I do know that I have a little bit of a low spot up there, but I might have fixed that with the thin set I put over some of the screw holes. I kind of did a little light thin set on the top there. So I'm going to take a level and I'm just going to go around and make sure I'm plumb, just so I understand if I do need to put a little bit more thin set up in that corner so my tiles are beautifully level. And of course, I will be checking the level as we go. We'll talk through that in the video, but I'm just kind of preparing you for what you need. If it didn't make this video, I do have the bottom with no waterproof membrane yet, because again, we're going to start above on all sides of the walls, so we're not fighting that weight. And then after I've tiled these walls here, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my flooring, and then I'm going to put the Schluter Curdy band up against all corners of the bathroom. It's going to go on top of my Schluter Ditra flooring membrane, and of course, so stay tuned for that. But that's why you see bare cement backer board right here is in preparation for the Curdy band on top of my Schluter Ditra. I do want to show you one instance where I am not plumb, if the camera can pick this up. So right through here is a slight gap. I can't really see it on camera. It's a little bit better with the naked eye, but for about 10 inches right here, I have this slight gap. That's like maybe 1/8 of an inch, and that's the only part. See, it's nice and plumb here, but then it's like 1/8 of an inch in the biggest gap portion for about maybe 8 inches, 10 inches or so. So what happened in that case is probably my screw for my floorboards down there weren't plumb, and the screw just sucked in the backer board just a little bit more. And so I could either try to reverse that screw just a little bit to see if that backer board sucks out a little bit, or take note of that. And then what I would do is I would just add a little bit more thin set in that general area to match up with everything else. I did notice that my top was nice and plumb. And the only other area, if the camera can pick that up, which it probably can't, is just a little bit right in that area right there too, for a couple inches, but barely, even less than a 1/8 inch gap like we have right through right there. So just keep that in mind, take mental note, and you're just gonna have to add a little bit more thin set in that general area to take out that gap. So this is what also is really nice about your storyboard pole, is I have my pencil line right here. That's my 1/8 inch grout line. And I've already measured it. So I took my storyboard pole, I went inside the bathroom, and my left side is the top line, so it actually slopes up a little bit. So we'll do that accordingly as we work across the windowsill. But my bottom line, that would be the top there. And so you do want to have, I am going to have that butt up against a Schluter edge. So I just need to drop that just a hair. But as you can see here, now I know where my full tiles need to go. So again, this is going to be the bottom. Now with the way this tile is laid out, again, this is my grout line. So I'm going to have behind the freestanding tub, you're not even going to see it, a very thin strip down at the very bottom. It's just kind of how it worked out. I know that this right here is my grout line for the very bottom. So again, I'm not gonna do these ones until after the floor as with the small strip. I'm gonna start with this one right here. So we're gonna go 4 up on each side with our cuts and then work our window up there. All right, let's look at the setup before we get started here. We got our laser level. I got my storyboard pole, put it up against the laser level right there. Now I've taken a piece of wood. It's not sticking as well as I'd like it to. We put some drywall nails in, but not too far in, and definitely whatever wall you're working on. So I got plumbing behind this PEX plumbing, and it like runs right through this area. So I got to be very careful not to go too far in with those drywall head nails. This is what they look like right here, but I did put some braces underneath it as well, because again, it's just not sticking in as firmly as I'd like. There's a slight bowing in this piece of wood. Not too bad though. So again, that's 1/2 inch. So these nails aren't gonna be sticking in. That's 1/2 inch cement drywall. So these ones sticking out this far are probably barely piercing through. But like this one right here is probably not even piercing through at all. So don't go too far in. Now regarding this, we're gonna start stacking our tile from this board up. I've done my measurements. And again, what that's gonna do is you're gonna put your wedges right there for your grout line, and we're gonna stack up so that we're not fighting that bottom tile pushing out on us with the weight of these tiles coming down. Once again, we're gonna be doing those bottom tiles all the way around after we do our floor. So let's go ahead and mix up our thin set. I have another video on that. We're gonna get it to a nice thick consistency so we can put it on our wall, trowel it, and it's not gonna be runny. It's gonna stick on there really nicely. Definitely mix up your thin set outside. It is snowing outside. So what I'll do is I'll let it rest for the resting period on the back of your bag. I'll let it rest in here, and then I'll mix it for the last minute outside according to my bag. Now I'm gonna be using for this, I've already used a little bit of it, but let me go ahead and show you. This I just got at Lowe's, the Mappy large format floor and wall tile mortar, and the ASIN. And according to the directions on the Hydroban and the Mappy Aqua Defense, this thin set is compatible with that waterproof membrane, as well with large format floor and wall tile mortar. So on the back of this bag, yours might be different, but here are the directions down here. I won't go fully into it. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick. So make sure you read your directions on your bag. I'm gonna spit shoot how much I need to mix. So what I do is I put water in first, around 70-degree water. I mix it to the consistency that I like. Then once I see that it's the consistency I want, I mix it for 3 minutes, let it rest for 5, mix it up for 1 more, and we're ready to go. All right, we used our horizontal line. We found our center point. If you have not found your center point, then what you're gonna have to do on your dry layout is put your first 2 tiles up and then measure your edges. And right now I am perfectly center right here. Now I put my vertical level right in the grout line, and we'll show you some tips as we work our way up. I am using a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch trowel. We got some nice workable time. Let's go ahead and come on in here. As you can see, my big trowel marks here. I am cleaning as I go. You don't want too much goop up here, as you can see, so use your margin trowel and clean that off. I'm gonna put more thin set on the wall with my flat side. I don't know if I'm gonna get to my cuts today because it is getting dark, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up as well with a little bit of thin set over here if I don't get to it, because what I don't want to do is if I can't get to my cuts today, then I don't want that hardening up on me. So I'm working 1 row at a time. I want to check my level as well of my 2 tiles as I work my way up. Every row I'm going to check the levelness, because what you don't want is you don't want your T grout right in the middle right there. You don't want one higher, one lower. Let's press forward. Okay, we're looking great. Again, my vertical line, my grout line is right in the middle. I'm meeting those right there. I'm collapsing my ridges, pushing it in, setting it on top of the top tile, pushing it in, wiggling it right and left, coming together in the middle, cleaning my grout lines as I go. Okay, I do have my 1/8 inch spacers in. I put 1 on the top, I put 1 down at the bottom. This one just has 2 over here for some oddball reason. Again, 1 and 1 over there. My 1/8 inch wedges, 1 over there, 1 right there, 1 right there, and one over there. And again, the regular T-spacers right here and here. Let's go ahead and look at the nice deep ridges here. As we can see, I did a little bit of cleaning over here on this side with my margin trowel, and definitely have a damp sponge and a bucket ready. Any drips, you want to go ahead and clean that right away. Now, the easiest thing to do is once I have my mortar up, we're going to get the next section on camera. I put my tile in place. I take both my left and right hand, press it up against the wall, and wiggle it back and forth. What that does is, I did clean this already right here, but that collapses these ridges, and so we're getting nice coverage behind the tile. I am also back buttering it for extra coverage. Let me show you what happens if you don't add enough thin set or your wall aren't 100% plumb. Remember, mine in the middle. So as you can see here on the left edge, see how there's a little bit of a gap? Now we're getting plenty of coverage down here, but just we're getting a little bit of pull up over here on this side, which it just didn't collapse in as much. I needed to put more thin set in this area, especially on the left-hand side right there. So your perfectly plumb walls is going to be a lot better in the long run, but I'll try to work my best possible way where I can go ahead and fix that and collapse those ridges beautifully right there. But again, I did back butter it, and we're going for 95% coverage. Loving the pattern so far. I'm going to go ahead and work a little quicker. I don't want this thin set hardening up on me. I want to get another row in. Now, a tool that I'm actually using, which is really helping out, a lot of these tools were actually from my dad from his tile job. And what I do is, after I collapse those ridges with my left and right hand, then I scoot this tile, or whatever tile I'm working with, all the way over to the tile that hasn't been set yet, which squeezes this line right here. Then I use my damp sponge, I wipe it through. And then if I have any like boogery hanger things, I go ahead and just scrape it through and wipe that on my sponge. And make sure you wipe up any drips or any thin set that has gotten on your tile, because it's going to be a lot trickier to remove that as you're working your way up and it hardens. So definitely clean as you go. But overall, we're looking beautiful. Look at that vertical line straight up my grout line. I like it. Let's go ahead and continue on working. I'm using the flat edge to go ahead and put it on there. And honestly, with my big bucket, I'm actually getting a little drywall knife and putting it on here, and then putting it on here. And again, I want to lay it on, not too thin, but not too thick either. Because again, I want nice deep lines in my wall. Sometimes I just find it easier to put this in the bucket, wipe it on here, and then get it on here. This is why you don't want your thin set too runny, because you don't want it dripping all over the place. You want to go ahead and see my lines right here. You want nice deep lines that aren't going to run on you. See, those are beautiful lines right there. Look at that. Come on with it. And then again, just getting it nice and thick with your flat side right here. And then what I like to do here, teach their own. I did drop a little bit on the tile, damp sponge, wipe it up and keep going. Now clean your level after you do this, because most likely you're probably gonna get thin set on it. But what I try to do is, I'm not gonna do it right now, but I did it before, just a second ago. I cleaned my edge before I got started with this row right here. Put my level right on the edge, and I wanted to make sure I was level. We're spot on, we're looking really good. And again, clean off your level if you have any goop on it. Okay, folks, now for the side walls here, this one is going to be on the left-hand side if you walk in the bathroom and look to the left. Now, unfortunately, even though these are 12 by 24, that's not the correct dimension. These are shorter than 24, which leaves me a lip on the end, which is kind of a bummer. So you have a couple different scenarios you can play out. If you don't want a small, like 2-inch tile strip, then you have to evenly cut these tiles down so you get a nice big square, and it would be like 3 squares. I'm okay with a small strip, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tuck it in the corner by the window side right here, so that if you're at the vanity sitting on the toilet, you're not looking at the small strip over here. Well, if you're looking at the toilet, you wouldn't look at like it right over here. It would be tucked away over here. Kind of doesn't matter. I guess it's visual. And I went in there and I determined it'd be better if I did a little strip down over here, because again, the window side is going to have a larger section on the edges, so it will blend in a little bit better, and then I'll have 2 full tiles. And I really like this pattern here. I laid it out. Took me a while actually to get this. The only thing that I'm not super pumped, okay, so this is going to be hidden, so I didn't really care about these tiles down here. The tub is going to hide those. But I wanted a nice little vein as you're sitting in the bathtub having a soak. And then I really like that transition right there. I was trying to mess around with this big vein, and the best thing I could come up with was just like an inch off. You start another vein. In the perfect world, it would go this direction, and they do make one, but it's just way too loud, and it was like too thick of veins, and I didn't really like it. I like this pattern. So again, make it your own. If you don't even like thick patterns like this, then you could do all your tiles similar to that, but you're gonna have to buy more boxes. I opened up 3 different boxes for this precise layout, and I'm still gonna have to have, again, an edge over here, but there's a lot of tiles laying around. There's 2 right there, 3 right there, and then more in my dirty tool living room. And I still have my Christmas tree up, and it's almost February. Anywho, so lay it out, make your measurements. I'm doing the exact same thing with my board down below. I'll start 1 full tile with my wedges. I'll work my way up. I've done my measurements, and we'll have 1 full tile at the top, which is really nice. And then a little sliver. So this is the grout line right there where my foot is. It's a pencil mark. You can't really see it, but on the edge of my foot is the grout line. And then right behind the bathtub, you're not going to see that, will be a small strip of tiles right there. So doing a full wall without a window, definitely easier, but I do like a window in the bathroom. All right, now we're on the top row. I've checked my levelness. We're beautiful. We're looking absolutely fantastic. My math is correct with my grout line, and then we'll have my little slightly down degree. So if water gets on top of the windowsill, it'll flow down. Perfectly stacked here. I do want to show you, I made my thin set a little bit thicker than the last batch, and this stuff is beautiful. So let me show you here. So let's go ahead and get up a little amount so we can see. So this stuff is nice and sticky, but of course it will drop if I bang it off like that. So the first batch, I was already pretty dirty. A lot of splotches on the floor, of course, as you can see, but I wiped it up. So that's just flat splotches. A lot easier to work with this go around. Less cleaning of my grout edges. I really like it a bit thicker. So definitely do that. Secondly, again, back buttering, just a thin coat. I just find it easier to use my, I think that's a 4-inch drywall knife. Use the trowel like a hawk, using my 4-inch drywall knife, putting it up on the wall first, then taking my trowel with the flat side, grooming it up, and then once I got good coverage, then I went up with my 1/2-inch lines. So beautiful. It's gonna be a little bit hard to get the shot because of the angle and the tightness of the bathroom here. But again, back butter, 1/2-inch trowel, lines right there. Now, I would highly recommend, I'm gonna be showing you a step I'm gonna be using on the other walls. The reason I can't do it right now is because you need to slip it underneath this one here. And to make a long story short, these are already dried, and I'm just finishing off the top row. I ran out of time a couple nights ago. I'm gonna be doing a leveling system to ensure absolutely less stress with more thin set up over here in the corner, etc., blah, blah, blah. It's looking really good, but the leveling system just takes a lot of stress out of it, and I'm of course going to be using it on the ground as well. So, easiest thing I like to do is I just like to set it up on the lip of the other tile like this, and I just kind of press it in like that for just a second, obviously making sure it doesn't come down on you. Thin set is super sticky. Now another thing I highly recommend, before you set any tiles, examine the corners, examine any hairline cracks. I did find one itty bitty hairline crack in the bottom edge of one of my tiles down here. I actually, before it got too sticky, I actually had to pull it up. It was already back buttered. It's a pain in the butt, but you're gonna thank yourself later because it was visually right there, and who knows, the weather, it could crack even further. Anyway, so definitely look over your tiles. All right, so I'm actually gonna have to move you over here on this side. And then again, if you get on a ladder, just be careful. But what we need to do is we need to push in. I think I need to get off the step stool to do this. Again, push in with 2 hands. Now, obviously you don't want to like ram it too much because you don't want to chip the tile next to it. But again, pushing in, collapsing your ridges, get some good weight distribution, top, sides. You don't have to get crazy. I'm probably overdoing it obviously, but just doing it for the video. And then you're gonna go down and over. Don't go too far over where you push this tile out of alignment, but see how I squeezed this grout line right here? That's looking really nice. And that's when, if you're gonna be using a margin trowel or a drywall knife, be careful on this step. Don't wanna scratch or chip your tile. But what that does is that's just less sponge work and putting your hand in thin set water. With just a heads up, your hands will get super dry and jacked up in thin set water, so do be careful about that. Now what I like to do, again, clean your grout line first. You can use a sponge, or if you have thick thin set like myself, you're getting the grout line, and we need to clean that even further because we don't want, when we're grouting, to mess that up. So you get your little pocket shank in there and hit that grout line and get all that off. Don't forget your T intersection. Make sure that's nice and lined up. You want to prevent any goof ups that you're going to regret later down the way. Then edge your tile up, stick your spacer in over here on this side as well as this side here. Beautiful T. You can, if you want to, I need to scoot this over just a tiny bit. You can, if you want to, get your laser level out, but I had it out the other night and I got 3 rows beautifully done. And we'll just finish cleaning this up because I don't want any ridges that I have to chisel out or do this when it's dry. It just takes work out of the way when you're ready to grout after 24 hours of your tile being dry. Just setting this row has been a dream compared to my last batch of thin set. So I've mentioned it several times, but definitely make it a nice batch of thin set. They don't have to get too crazy about it. Now, if you're wondering, yes, I still need to put in my spacer there and right over here as well. All right, let me show you a little hack I did the other night. This grout line spacer up here is perfect. Right down here is slightly larger than an 1/8. And for some reason, the tiles are like wanting to go that way for some reason. It's just not staying tight. I don't know why that is. Could be not enough thin set or too much thin set in the back. So I take painter's tape, and again, I mean, it's barely, but I want to try to get that as tight as possible. So with a helper, it's a little bit easier. But what you want to do is you want to pinch your tile together and then go ahead and put your painter's tape down. Obviously, I don't have a helper, so I just use my big German nose, and it works just great. And now that gap has tightened up beautifully for a 1/8" spacer right there. That's just beautiful right there. And this is exactly what I did a couple nights ago. Then once you have one strip on, then I just put a secondary strip. Pretty thorough, so I literally look at this T section. We have no lippage. We're looking absolutely fantastic. Beautiful tile. Just double check my grout line, cleaning it up, making sure I don't have anything to deal with. The next day when you go to grout, and then always look down as well at your tiles below, because you could have dropped something on there, and if you're rushing, if you have music on, you're not paying attention, you don't want that drying out on you. Okay, make a long story short, it's late tonight, so I'm gonna finish up tomorrow with my cuts. I don't feel like cutting, so if you do stop for the evening, best thing to do is see what I did right here. I just use my drywall knife, I scrape all this up, I clean all this off on top, all this ridge up here. I'm gonna clean all that. I'm gonna clean those lines, making sure it's beautiful and perfect, ready for a thin set when I make my cuts tomorrow. Again, it's like 8 o'clock right now, and I'm not gonna go outside in like 3 degrees here in Colorado and cut tile. So I'll do that in the sunshine tomorrow. It should be about 40 degrees tomorrow. Okay, for your edge, if you are gonna be using a Schluter end here, as we can see, this is the brushed aluminum, I believe. There's no silver to it. It's just kind of like a dull metal look to it. I wasn't sure exactly if I wanted to go white or black, so I just stuck with this kind of neutral one that looks the best. So anyway, what I did here is I lined it up right with the edge of my waterproof membrane and where I lapped over with my alkaline mesh tape all the way to the top. I back buttered, as you can see here, but I do need to clean it up. Clean it up as in you don't want any big ridges like this. It depends how fast you set tile. It's getting a little bit later, so I'm gonna have to take a break for the evening after I set a couple rows down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean that area just like we talked about over here on this side, nice and flat, ready for installation tomorrow. Clean the edge over here as well, making sure that there's no thin set rubbish right here. We don't want that drying on there. All the way up to the top. There's another little bit right there. And then again, leaving your 1/8" grout line in my case right on the edge of that as well. Of course, I have my wedges down on this area right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean that before it starts to dry on me. And what that back buttering does is it holds it in place so you won't be fighting it. And if you're a slow tiler like I am, slipping it in the back later down the road is gonna be a headache. So just back butter it and stick it up. Okay, folks, the tiling is looking absolutely fantastic in person. Obviously, we're not completed with the cut tiles. Now, if you are a beginner and you're not comfortable with cutting and drying out your thin set, then definitely try this. And I'm actually kind of glad I am doing this because it's giving me a couple areas of the maneuverability. Let me go ahead and talk you through it. Now, this system right here is a little bit different than your wedge system. This is, and I'll have it linked in the description box below. I actually went with 1/8 inch tile spacers. These are just your typical small itty bitty guys. But then for the leveling, make sure you get the right ones. I made the mistake and I bought the T ones if you're not sizing them up right where they should be. I bought ones if you're like subway tile ones. So these are 1/8 inch as well, but here's the only issue regarding this. These are 3.175 and these are 3 on the dot. So these are just a little bit thicker. And let me show you what's going on with these. Now, really cool system once you figure it out. But again, buy the appropriate ones like pictured here. So they're really cool. And it's just like the wedge system with that little thing that kind of puts the wedge in, brings it up. This is actually a cool system again. Now, some of these I wanted to go ahead and line them all up. And I'm a slow worker. So sometimes my thin set starts to harden up a little bit as I'm going to the next row. So as you can see here, I kind of, instead of doing like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, now I use the spacers here. So this grout line is just a little bit larger than this grout line. And because I started on the bottom with these, I just kept it. Now the only issue regarding that, this is beautiful, but some of these, yeah, this one right here, very, very little lippage. The grout should take care of that. It shouldn't be noticeable. And it's not very noticeable, but in the perfect world, I should have done the leveling system all throughout. Definitely don't skimp the leveling system. Makes life a lot easier. This is just one of the 2 options for the leveling system. So let me talk you through this. And the reason why I even filming this is because if you come across these problems, no tile videos that I saw kind of recommended this or anything like that. So by not doing the side over here, I wanted, now these are kind of covered up right here, but I wanted my T's perfect. I wanted that T literally, I didn't want a little slight fingernail over. I want to look at it and it to be the perfect T. So what you can do in that case is you can set one of those embedded T spacers and leave it in there if you get the right spacer. But what was happening with my wall for some oddball reason is it was slightly pushing this way. I had the same issue and I used tape this last round because I just too big of a gap over here. But I cut these little wooden pieces that fit over here that pushed the tile perfectly so I could get my T, and it turned out gorgeous. So I'm glad I didn't set those in, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this one in first for this so you can't see my grout line upon entering, and then my little itty bitty sliver is going to be in the corner here. And I'm really glad that I chose the sliver in the back wall here, because right as you enter, it's going to be a little bit hard to see on camera, but you're barely going to be able to see that little sliver over here instead of that little sliver over here on this side. So now you walk in, you're going to see the freestanding tub, beautiful full tiles over here on the right and left side. Still need to do the right side. And I keep saying it, I'm slow but good. You definitely don't want to hire me per hour. That is for sure. I'm going to try to correct that on the other wall, and so I have absolutely no lippage. Now there's no major lippage, but some tiles have a very slight, if you run your finger across it, you can feel the edge of the other tile up there, but the grout again should fix that where it's not noticeable to the eye. So giving you an update about that. Okay, next update is make sure you clean your tools after your projects. What I actually do is I'm not trading out buckets. I'm scraping the bucket clean. I try to use as much thin set as I can. I scrape the bucket of the old thin set. I throw it away in a trash bag. I wash my bucket out, dump the water. And what I actually did, like every 2 rolls of tile, I actually, my microfiber, and I'm actually using the microfiber cloth a lot more than the actual sponge. I just find it a little bit more convenient. But I'm actually dumping my water and getting fresh water like every 2 levels, because I don't know about you, but my hands, like, they're nasty dry from that thin set water. Like, it's tearing my hands up. Like, I'm getting cracks in it. Like, it's really bad, and I'm using crazy good lotion at night. So just be prepared for that. I know professional tilers, some of them even use gloves to keep that off, but I don't know what to do with water though. You gotta dunk your rag, unless you're just using a boat ton of rags or sponges, not even dunking. I'll leave that up to you. Anyway, wanted to give you an update about that. The Schluter edge is looking absolutely fantastic. Let's continue on. All right, this is gonna be my shower head and shower nozzle portion of the wall here. And I did a different pattern. I don't like this. This is too loud for me personally. And in the 4 boxes I've opened up, I'm using most of these cuts, or tiles I should say, which will be hidden. This one I like. This one is just a little too loud for me personally. So this part will show. This will be hidden right behind the bathtub. And I really like this pattern as well, with the veins meeting up. This will be a little bit more hidden down here, so you're not gonna see that too much. Then I did a nice vein up towards the top of the wall, and so we're looking very good. Totally up to you if you wanna use the same pattern or not, but little combination would be a little bit nice in my personal opinion. And definitely I highly recommend doing this. Lay it out on the ground. Now, of course, my little slivers, which are going to be on the inside over here, those don't really matter because they're going to be so small. And I've opened up 4 boxes for my cut down. It's 8x4, but I cut down to 89.5. And again, measuring tape. This is my grout line right here at the bottom. So again, I'll put my wood piece right here, which has been very beneficial because that's a lot of weight coming down on your bottom tile, and it will kick out. So I've had no issues with the piece of wood, with my wedges, and the weight coming down on that piece of wood. Anywho, so get your measurements correct. That definitely helps out, and that's been tremendous on this project. Again, use your spacers on the ground here so you know exactly what you're dealing with here. I don't think I'll have to open up my 5th box, but also look at all your tiles, because I did have, out of 4 boxes, I had 1 tile that actually looked like it was not really cracked, but I think in the factory something happened with a saw, and so I'm going to take that back for a refund. Just 1 tile out of the 4 boxes. But other than that, I have 3 full tiles remaining for my edge cuts on both sides and my little 6 1/4 cut down here as well. So I should be good to go. Okay, I do want to show you this if you do get these exact same tiles or ones like it. So the tile company actually does a really good job with these ones, with these little wax flat strips, and you actually can see a little bit of adhesive. It just wipes off, but see this right here? That's from the wax, and then the light will get this one right here. So obviously you want to clean that off. If you do need to give it a little bit more elbow grease, it is the next day now, and even some isopropyl alcohol or something like that will wipe that off and won't damage the tile. These ones didn't have the wax strips. Also on the back, because they're stacked, make sure you peel off those little wax balls before you do put them up for 100% adhesion. Just giving you a heads up on that one. Okay, it is the next day. These are completely dried. I'm gonna go ahead and knock these out. According to the directions, you want to go with the grout line. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab a rubber mallet, and I'm just going to whap on the bottom upwards in the upwards direction just to snap off that plastic strip. I'm not sure, I got to read the directions. I'm not sure if you're supposed to loosen that up first, then knock it off, or just knock it off as is. Seems like the blue thing would kind of maybe dig into the tile. Okay, we're going to take this board. We're going to put it over on this side. I've made my exact measurement. We're looking absolutely fantastic. We're going to go ahead and stack this. We're going to go ahead and probably start making our cuts now. 2 tiles, unfortunately, get right into this. Only on one side, which is good, but instead of one tile with one circle, it's going to be 2 tiles. That might actually be better for cutting. And then all the way to the top, we'll go ahead and have to use a little diamond drill bit I have. Go ahead and make a large hole for that, the shower head. And what we'll do today is we'll probably do the same thing we did over here on this side. We'll go ahead and do 2 full tiles in, start working on these small cuts and drill holes. Stop there just in case we have to get these little wooden edges to bring the tile together like that, just in case. Probably let that dry, and then we'll switch over and start making some cuts. At least get this whole side done here. It's a beautiful day. Let's get after it. Okay, I want to talk to you about the levelers here. Now, they did a pretty good job. They did some nice spacing, slipping in the back of the tile. Now, one thing that this was an installer error on my part, but if you clunk up some of the thin set underneath it, let me show you one right here where I knocked it out. Then you're gonna have to get a little chisel or something or other to get in there. And it's not too hard. Scrape that out so we can grout that. Here's kind of another one right here. It's just what happens is when you screw on the cap, and if there's anything inside here, it just kind of sucks it up. And you can't see it because it's obviously behind the screw on here. So it's kind of hard to clean that up when it is wet. Here we go right here. So what I would actually do is when you do back butter or putting on your thin set, start it a little bit above the line, and then your back butter will go ahead and make sure you're at least 95% coverage according to the manual. So let's go ahead and show you how we knock one of these off here. If this was on the floor, they tell you to kick it. I have a couple different methods I like. I actually have cracked a bunch of these on the interior portion. You can still reuse them, but let me show you what happens here. See this right here? And that's just a rubber mallet whacking it a few times. Some of them come off really easily, some of them don't. If you don't want to crack the interior portions like this, then you can either A, unscrew it. And so I've done a couple different methods like this. You unscrew it to the very end, pop that off like that. Then that is exposed there. Pop that back inside for reusable, and then take your rubber mallet and go right on the edge here, right here, and then beat that down, and then it'll kind of just wiggle out of there or snap off like that there. And then we'll go ahead and clean up that little grout edge. Throw those away. Those are not reusable. Or the other option is, let me show you this, just right on the top right here. Boom. And then it falls off. That's if it isn't really bunched up there. If it's on there pretty tight, let's try this one here. Well, those are coming off pretty good, but that one did crack, as we could see right there. That's not a problem for reusing it, so I'll leave it up to you what method, but I do like it. Levels it out, no lippage, so it's a thumbs up in my book. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. Again, slipping that in, like as you're working on this level, you're slipping those in here, or if it's a T-section, they sell those ones separately. Same method applies. And then you don't have to worry about tightening on these too tight. I actually tighten them down pretty hand strength where it's like, and then just a tiny bit more. And what that does is, while that thin set is still soft underneath, obviously, if you've stopped for the night, then it won't level out the solid one that it's dried. But if they're both wet underneath, you tighten that down, brings that lippage up evenly right here on your middle area here. Just beautiful. Obviously, flat walls will definitely help as well. Overall, thumbs up in my book. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to go with this system or the wedge system. Again, I was already invested in these already. They're reusable. A 50 pack of these, I think, is like $20, just the blue ones. And then a 50 pack of the spacers is like another 10 or 11, something like that. Again, I'll have these linked in the description box below, but I'll leave it up to you which ones that you prefer. Okay, before we do grout, we are gonna have to go through and look at all the different grout lines and see if there's any kind of boogers hanging up, and we'll go ahead and scrape that lightly. This has been a really good tool right here, and I'm gonna try to do this carefully. Obviously, you don't want to go too hard because you don't want to chip your tile. And so I'll do this kind of off camera, but I'll kind of work that a little bit. You can use a chisel and a rubber mallet very lightly. This section got really bunched up on me. That's going to be kind of a pain to get that out. That's probably the worst one out of all the tiles. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go ahead and clean all that grout lines out, prepare it for grouting, but we can't grout it yet, obviously, because we still need to do our floor and then scribe in our last tiles, full tile here, small tiles down here and here, but we're still gonna have to put on waterproof membrane, and we'll go that step by step. But I wanna do all the kind of dusty work. I'm gonna put on my mask while I kind of work those edges, because that is thin set dust you're putting in the air. And then after that is all done, we're gonna clean this area up. Okay, folks, after we have cleaned the grout lines, everything is looking beautiful. We are ready to grout later on. We won't do that right now. Stay tuned for part 2, where I start to tile the floor, which was pretty easy. I use small hexagon tiles, and I'm also using the Ditra waterproof membrane system for the floor. Also, I noticed while I was editing this video, I didn't really show you how to cut tile. It's really simple. If you used a miter saw before, or a table saw type of saw, it's the same method applies. My dad actually loaned me his old professional tile saw. It worked pretty good, super easy to use. And the tile saws are a wet tile saw, so it will actually spit water on your tile while it cuts. Obviously, do use a respirator and do use ear and eye protection as well. Also, in the next video, I'm going to show you tips about how to tile around your window like I have behind me right here. I used a black Schluter edge system for this, and it turned out absolutely fantastic. And I left my window a natural wood color, just splendid. Thank you again for Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Please subscribe. Also, if you wouldn't mind, like this video. It helps out the channel and the YouTube algorithm. Also, hit that bell notification as well, so that when I post my next videos in this master bath remodel series, you'll be the first to know. I'm actually finished with this bathroom now, and it turned out splendid. So stay tuned for that. Don't let the party stop, guys. Hit one of these videos, continue to watch, and we'll see you soon.